Now, book reading. You should read along with me. Anglo-Maratha Wars. Anglo-Maratha Wars. The Marathas managed to overcome the crisis caused by the defeat at Panipat and after a decade recovered the control over Delhi. However, the old Maratha confederacy controlled by the Peshwa had given way to the five virtually independent states: Peshwa at Pune, Gaikwads at Baroda, Bonsley at Nagpur, Holkars at Indore, and Sinsidar at Gwalior. The Peshwa government was weakened by the internal rivalries, and the other four leaders were often hostile to one another. Despite this, Marathas were still a formidable power. The internal conflict among the Marathas was best utilized by the British in their expansion policy. The First Anglo-Maratha War. The causes. In the case of the Marathas, the first British intervention was at the time of dispute over succession to the Peshwaship following the death of Narayan Rao. After the death of Narayan Rao, Raghunath Rao Rahbo became the Peshwa, but his authority was challenged by a strong party at Purna under Nana Pahanavis. The party recognized the infant born posthumously to the Narayana Rao wife Gangabai as the Peshwa and set up a council of regency in his name. Having failed in his bid to capture power, Raghunath Rao approached the British for help. The Treaty of Surat between the English and Raghunath Rao was concluded in 1775. However, the majority of the Supreme British Council in Calcutta was opposed to the Surat Treaty, although Warren Hastings himself had no objection to ratifying the treaty. The council sent Colonel Upton to Pune to negotiate the peace with the Pune Regency. Accordingly, upon the conclude the Treaty of Purandar in 1776. The treaty, however, did not take effect due to the opposition from the English government in Bombay. In 1781, Warren Hastings dispatched British troops under Captain Bopam. He defeated the Maratha chief Mahadaji Sinida in the number of small battles and captured Gwalior. Later on 17th May 1782, the Treaty of Salbai was signed between Warren Hastings and Mahadaji Sinide. Results. Raghunath Rao was pensioned off and Madhav Rao too was accepted as a Peshwa. Salside was given to the British. The Treaty of Salbai established the British influence in Indian politics. It provided the British 20 years of peace with the Marathas. Internal affairs of the Marathas. The internal affairs of the Marathas deteriorated further after the close of the First Maratha War. Nana Fahnavis grew fond of power, jealous of Mahadji Sinidi, and became progressively inclined to seek the support of the English. The young Peshwa Madhava Rao too tried to improve the affairs but could not check the rivalry of the Maratha chiefs. Mahadaji Sinide tried in 1794 and was succeeded by his grandnephew Dal Rao Sindhi. The English He did left Nana Fazil supreme at Pune and English to expand their influence in North India. Peshwa Madhav Rao too committed suicide in 1795 and Baji Rao too, worthless son of Raghunath Rao, became the Peshwa. Death of Nana Padmanabis in 1800 gave the British an added advantage. Jaswant Rao Halkar, Daulat Rao Sinid were fighting against each other. The Peshwa supported Scindia against Holkar. The Peshwa and the Scindia agreed to help each other. Holkar marched against the Peshwa. The combined forces of Sindhi and the Peshwa were utterly defeated in 1802 and captured the city. Bajirao too approached the Lord Wellesley, the then Governor General of India, for help. Lord Wellesley welcomed the Peshwa and made him sign the Treaty of Basing, in other words, the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance, accepting the status of the British subsidiary in 1802. As an intermediate of Treaty of Basing, the British troops marched under the command of Arthur Wellesley towards the Pune and restored the Peshwa to his position. The forces of Holkar vanished from Maratha capital. Second Anglo-Maratha War. The causes. After the acceptance in the Such alliance by the Peshwa, Daulat Sindhi, Rahroji Bhonsle attempt to save Marathas' independence, but the well-prepared the English forced them to conclude separate substitute treaties, namely the of Diogen and the Treaty of Arjugan, respectively in 1803. But Yeshwantrao Holkar, also called Jeswantrao Holkar, was yet undefeated. He had not participated in the war so far. Holkar plundered the territory of Jaipur and in 1804 the English declared war against him. Yeshwantrao Holkar made an attempt to form a coalition of Indian rulers to fight against the British, but his attempt proved unsuccessful. The Marathas were defeated, reduced to British vassalage and isolated from one another. Results: the Maratha power was gradually weakened. The English East India Company started becoming the paramount power in India. Third Anglo-Mysore War. The Third Anglo-Mysore War was the final and decisive conflict between the British East India Company and the Maratha Empire in India. It began with an invasion of the Marathas territory by the British East India Company troops. The troops were led by the Governor General Hastings and he was supported by a force under General Thomas Hislop. Course. Peshwa Bajirao two forces followed by those Doji II Bhonsle of Nagpur and Malhar Rao Holkar III of Indore rose against the British. Daulat Rao Sindhi of Gwalior remained neutral. The Peshwa was defeated in the Battle of Kadi and Koregaon and several minor battles were found by the Peshwa forces to prevent his capture. Bhonsle was defeated in the Battle of Sitabaldi and Holkar in the Battle of Mahilpur. Result: Maratha Confederacy was dissolved and Peshwaship was abolished. Most of the territory of Peshwa Baji Rao Sahand was annexed and became the part of the Bombay Presidency. The defeat of the Bhonsle and Holkar was also resulted in the acquisition of the Maratha kingdoms of Nagpur and Indore by the British. The Bajirao II, the last Peshwa of Maratha, was given an annual pension of 8 lakh rupees. The British administrative organization in India. The British Indian administrative was run by 4 principal institutions: civil services, army, police and judiciary. Civil services. The term civil service was used for the first time by the British East India Company to distinguish civilian employees from their military counterparts. Translating law into action and collecting revenue were the main jobs of the civil service. The civil service was initially commercial in nature, but later it was transformed into public service. In the beginning, the appointment of this service was sole prerogative of the court of directors of the company, but the nominated civil servants include in corruption, bribery and illegal private trade. So, Cornwallis, who came to India as Governor General in 1786, enforced the rules against the private trade. He also raised the salary of the company's servants, who became the highest paid civil servants in the world. Lord Wellesley, who came to India as Governor General in 1798, introduced the idea of suitable training for the civil servants in India. In 1800, he established the college in Fort William at Calcutta to provide training in literature, science and language. However, the directors of the company disproved his action and replaced by their own East India College established at Haileybury in England in 1806. The idea of competition for recruitment was introduced first by the Charter Act 1833, but the system of competition was thus not nominated by the Court of Directors were not eligible to write the competitive examination. Hence, the system was called as nomination cum competition system. The system of recruitment on the basis of open competitive exam was introduced in 1853. The system was confined by the Government of India Act of 1858. The maximum age for competitor was was fixed at 23. Subsequently, East India College at Haileybury was abolished in 1858 and the requirement to civil service became the responsibility of the Civil Service Commission. By the regulation of 1860, the maximum age was lowered to 22, the 1866 to 21 and in 1876 to 19. Indian Civil Service Act of 1861 passed by the British Parliament exclusively reserved certain categories of high executive and judicial posts for the covenanted civil service, which was later designated as the Indian Civil Service. Due to the lowering of age limit and holding of examination in London, it could be possible only for a very few wealthy Indians to appear at the ICS examination. In 1869, 3 Indians, Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt and Bihari Lal Gupta, became successful in the ICS examination. Do you know Chandranath Tagore, the elder brother of poet Rabindranath Tagore, was the first Indian to pass the ICS examination in 1863. Later on, Indians demanded to increase the age limit and to establish the Centre for Examination in India instead of England. In 1892, the minimum age limit for appearing for civil service examination was raised to 21 and the maximum to 23. In 1912, a Royal Commission on Public Service was appointed, chaired by Lord Iselton. This commission had 2 Indian members, G.K. Gokhale and Sir Abdur Rahim. Besides 4 Englishmen, the commission published a report in 1917. Islington Commission recommendation partly fulfilled the demand for the Indian station of civil service. In 1918, Motive and Lord Chelmsford recommended that 33% Indians should be recruited in Indian civil services and gradually the number should be increased. In 1923, a Royal Commission on Public Services was appointed with Lord Lee of Fareham and chairman. This commission recommended that recruitment to all Indian services like the Indian Civil Services, Indian Police Services and Indian Forest Service should be made and controlled by the Secretary of State for India. The Lee Commission recommended the immediate establishment of a Public Service Commission. The Act of 1935 also made provision for the establishment of Federal Public Service Commission at the centre and the Provincial Public Service Commissions in the various provisions. Provision was also made for a Joint Public Service Commission in 2 or more provinces. Although the main aim of this measure was to serve the British interest, it became the base of civil service system in independent India. Army. The army was the second important pillar of the British administration in India. The East India Company started recruiting its own army, which came to be known as Sepoy, from Sepoy as soldier army. The Sepoy army was trained and disciplined according to European military standards and was commanded by European officers in the battlefield. During the early stage of British rule, the 3 separate armies had been organized in 3 presidencies of Bengal, Bombay and Madras. Army had a great contribution in the establishment and expansion of British rule in India. Indian soldiers were given to less salaries and allowance than English soldiers. In 1857, Indians constitute about 86% of the total strength of the company's army. However, officers of the army were exclusively British. For example, in 1856, only 3 Indians in the army received the salary of 300 rupees per month. The highest rank an Indian could ever reach was that of Subedar. The strength of British Army. Plassey War 1757, 1950 European infantry, 100 European artillery, 50 English sailors and 2100 Indian sepoys. An English army of 6000 troops were maintained in Bengal. In 1857, the strength of the army in India was 3,11,400, of whom 2,65,900 were Indians. Its officers were British. After the revolt of 1857, the important changes were made in the Indian army services. In 1858, they decreased British troops and reduced Indian troops. Also, only Indians were appointed in artillery. police. When the East India Company took over the Diwani in 1765, the Mughal police system was under the control of Wajdas, who were in the charge of the sarkars or rural districts. The kotwals were in the charge of towns, while the village watchmen were paid and controlled by Jamindar. The police system was created by Lord Cornwallis. He relieved the Jamindars from the police function and established the regular police force in 1791. Cornwallis established the system of circles or thanas, each headed by a daroga. The authority of the daroga extended to village watchmen who performed the police duties in the villages. The heredity village police became chowkidars. In the big cities, the old office of kotwal was, however, continued and a daroga was appointed to each of the wards of the city. Daroga system was extended to Madras in 1802. Before the post of the district superintendent, the police was created. All the thanas were under the general supervision of the district judge. In 1808, the superintendent of police was appointed for each division. Later, the district collector was entrusted with the task of controlling the police forces in the district. The main task of the police was to handle crime and to prevent conspiracy against the British rule. Judicial system. In 1772, the royal government was abolished and the company took over the direct responsibility for the collection of revenue as well as the administration justice. Consequently, a Diwani adult and Faujdari adult was established. By the Supreme Regulating Act of 1773, a Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta. This court consisted of a Chief Justice and 3 police judges who were appointed by the Crown. This court decided civil, criminal, and ecclesiastical and admiraltical cases. On the model of the Supreme Court of Calcutta, a Supreme Court was established in Madras in 1801 and in Bombay in 1823. In 1832, William Bentinck started jury system in Bengal. An Indian Law Commission was established to compile the laws. A rule of law was established for the whole empire. According to the Indian Code Act 1861, 3 high courts were set up in Calcutta, Bombay, Madras in place of the old Supreme Court. Do you know Sir Eliza Impey was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at Fort William in Bengal? Sir Thiruvarur Muthuswamy was the first Indian Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. Subsidiary alliance. Lord Wellesley introduced a system of subsidiary alliance to bring the princely states under the control of the British. It was the most effective instrument for the expansion of the British territory and political influence in India. The British princely state was called protectorate state and the British came to refer to as paramount power. It was the duty to the British to safeguard the state from the external aggression and to help its ruler maintaining internal peace. Main features of subsidiary alliance. In Indian ruler entering into the alliance with the British had to dissolve his own armed force and accept the British forces. A British resident would stay in his capital. Towards the maintenance charge of the army, he should make annual payments or cede some territory permanent to the company. Next point. All the non-English European officials should be turned out of his state. The native ruler should deal with the foreign state only through the English company. The British would undertake to defend the state from the internal trouble as well as the external attack. Merits for the British. The British company maintained a large army at the expense of the Indian rulers. All the Frenchmen in the service of the native rulers were dismissed and the danger of French revival was completely eliminated. The British company began to control foreign policy of the princely states. Wellesley diplomacy made the British paramount power in India. He transferred the British Empire in India into the British Empire of India. Defects of the princely state. The subsidiary alliance made the Indian rulers weak, oppressive and irresponsible. Protected by the British arm, they neglected the duties towards the subjects and even exploited them. The first Indian state to accept the subsidiary alliance was Hyderabad. 1798, it was followed by Tanjavur in 1799, Avar 1801, Peshwa 1802, Bonsal 1803, Gavalia 1804, Indo 1817, Jaipur, Udaipur and Jodhpur. Doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie was one of the chief architects to the British Empire in India. It was an imperialist. He adopted a new policy known as the doctrine of lapse to extend the British Empire. He made the use of the present and declared in 1848 that if the native rulers adopted children without the prior permission of the company, only the personal properties of the rulers would go to the adopted sons and the kingdoms would go to the British paramount power. This principle was called doctrine of lapse. It was bitterly opposed by the Indians and it was one of the root causes for the Great Revolt of 1857. By applying the doctrine of lapse policy, Dalhousie annexed Satara in 1848, Jaipur and Sambalpur in 1849, Baghdad in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Jhansi in 1853 and Nagpur in 1854. Factors for the success of the British: great naval power, development of textile, scientific division of labor, economic prosperity and skillful diplomacy of the British, feeling of insecurity among the Indian merchants, the inequality and ignorance of Indian kings. Conclusion: the Battle of Plassey was the foundation of British dominance in India. The company admiration was not for the interest of people. It was imperialistic, expansionistic and exploitative. It brought more Indian territories under British domain through subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. The policy led to the South Indian Rebellion 1802-1801, Vellore Rebellion 1806 and the Great Rebellion 1856. Up to this lesson completed. Now take a material, split the words. First Roman, fifth cuisine, bring out the results of the third Maratha war. Bring out the results of the third Maratha war. The Maratha Confederacy was dissolved and Peshwaship was abolished. The Maratha Confederacy was dissolved and Peshwaship was abolished. Most of the territory of Peshwa Bajirao II was annexed and became part of the Bombay Presidency. Most of the territory of Peshwa Bajirao II was annexed and became part of the Bombay Presidency. The defeat of the Bonsal and Holkar also resulted in the acquisition of the Maratha kingdoms of Nagpur and Indore by the British. Third point, the defeat of the Bonsal and Holkar also resulted in the acquisition of the Maratha kingdoms of Nagpur and Indore by British. For last point, the Bajirao II, the last Peshwa of Maratha, was given an annual pension of 8 lakh rupees. The Bajirao II, the last Peshwa of Maratha, was given an annual pension of 8 lakh rupees. Next question. Third question. How did the Lord Wellesley expand the British power in India? Lord Wellesley introduced the system of subsidiary alliance to leaving the princely state under the control of the British. It was the most effective instrument for the expansion of the British. The princely state was called the protector state and the British territory and the political influence in India came to be referred to as paramount power. It was the duty of British to safeguard the state from external aggression and to help its ruler in maintaining internal peace. Main features of subsidiary alliance: an Indian ruler entering into the alliance with the British and had to dissolve our armed forces and accept British forces. A British resident would stay in his capital. Towards the maintenance of charges of the army, he should make annual payments or cede some territorial permanently to the company. All the non-English European officials should be turned out of his state. The native ruler should deal with the foreign state only through the English company. The British would undertake to defend the state from internal trouble as well as the external attack. Next question. Third Roman. First question. Write an essay on Second Carnatic War. Second Carnatic War. The main causes of this war was the issue of succession in Carnatic and Hyderabad. Anwaruddin Khan and Chanda Sahib were the two claimants to the throne of Carnatic, while the Nasir Jang and Muzaffar Jang were claimants to the throne of Hyderabad. The French supported Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Jang, while the British supported the other claimants with the objective of keeping the interest and influence in the entire Deccan region. Battle of Adayar 1749. Finally, Dupleix, Chanda Sahib, Muzaffar Jang formed a grand alliance and defeated and killed Anwaruddin Khan, the Nawab of Carnatic, on 3rd August 1749 in the Battle of Amber. Muhammad Ali, the son of Anwaruddin, fled to Tiruchirappalli. Chanda Sahib became the Nawab of Carnatic and rewarded the French with the grant of 80 villages around Pondicherry. In the Deccan too, the French defeated and killed Nasir Jang and made Muzaffar Jang as the Nizam. The new Nizam was giving ample rewards to the French. Battle of Arcot. In the meantime, Dupleix sent forces to beside the fort of Trichy, where Muhammad Ali had taken shelter. Chanda Sahib also joined with the French in their efforts to besiege Trichy. Robert Clive's proposal was accepted by the British governor Saunders, and with only 200 English and 300 English soldiers, Clive was entrusted the task of capturing Arcot. His attack proved successful. Treaty of Pondicherry. Dupleix was succeeded by Godhue, who had agreed the Treaty of Pondicherry. According to it, both the powers agreed not to interfere in the internal affairs of the native states. They were to retain the old position. New forts should not be built by either power. The treaty made the British stronger. Second question. Explain the causes for the success of the English in India. Lack of unity among Indian states. Even though they were powerful kings and who ruled Punjab, Mysore and Maratha region, they lacked unity and fought with each other for the various reasons. They failed to perceive and danger arising from the East India Company. Development of textile. By the beginning of the 19th century, English made cotton textile successfully outstayed Indian good from the traditional market. Scientific division of labor. The production and growth of modern science in India was encouraged by the British with a view to further colonial interests. Economic prosperity. The British had enough funds to pay its shareholders that compelled them to finance the English wars in India. Great naval power. The British came through the sea and established a strong naval power in the Indian Ocean before coming to the Indian mainland. There was no strong naval power in India to challenge the British. Only two more questions. Two very long answer. Okay, you should write neatly. Next worksheet. From trade to territory. First Roman. Choose the correct answer. The Battle of Plassey was held in 1787, 1757, 1857, 1887. Siraj-ud-Dowlah attached Das was a political settlement of British. Calcutta, Madras, Adayar, Mumbai. The Battle of Buxar was fought in 1784, 1794, 1764, 1794. The place of 24 Parganas was located in Bengal, Allahabad, Madras, Bihar. Fifth question. Mir Qasim shifted his capital from Das to Das. Mohgar to Murshidabad, Murshidabad to Moghur, Moghur to Mumbai and Murshidabad to Bunar. Sixth question. The word district means of A. Free duty pass, B. Free purchase ticket, C. Entry pass, D. None of these. Seventh question. In the year Das, the Battle of Adayar was found. 1756, 1746, 1786, 1780. The Treaty of Das brought the Austrian War of Succession to end. A. Pondicherry, B. Alinagar, C. Allahabad, D. Axla Chaplain. Ninth question. Nasir Jang and Muzaffar Jang were claimants to the throne of Dan. A. Carnatic, B. Hyderabad, C. Bengal, D. None of this. Hyder Ali was the ruler of Mysore, Madras, Bengal, Bihar. Fill in the blanks. The Treaty of Madras was signed between British and Das. Second question. Hyder Ali was died during the Das Anglo-Mysore War. The Second Anglo-Mysore War was found from the years dash to dash. Fourth question, the Treaty of Srirangapatnam was subjected to dash Anglo-Mysore War. Third Roman, match the following, right side and left side. Battle, treaty. First Carnatic War, Pondicherry. Second Carnatic War, Axla Chapley. Third Carnatic War, Mangalore. Second Anglo-Mysore War, Paris. First Anglo-Mysore War, Madras. Fourth Roman, which one of the following pair is wrongly matched and correct the error? Battle of Adaya 1746, Battle of Orkut 1751, Battle of Ambud 1749, Battle of Mandiwa 1769. Right, true or false? The dual system of government was started in Bengal. Second question, the Treaty of Madras was signed between Tipu Sultan and British. Third question, the Treaty of Srirangapatnam was concluded by the Second Mysore War. Sixth Roman, answer in one word. Where did the black hole tragedy take place? Where did the black hole tragedy take place? Second question, by whom the Treaty of Pondicherry was signed? Agreed. By whom the Treaty of Pondicherry was agreed? Third question, when did the Hyder Ali become the ruler of Mysore? When did the Hyder Ali become the ruler of Mysore? Fourth question, in which war Tipu and Cornwall is found? In which war Tipu and Cornwall is found? Fifth question, when did Tipu attack Travancore? When did Tipu attack Travancore? Okay, you should write neatly, take a photo and send your answer through WhatsApp. Thank you students. See you in next class.